What's going on, you guys? My name is James Licata. Thank you for joining me. I'm back with another Joey Sturgis plugin video. Today we're going to be talking about the Wanasek bus glue drum compressor. So it's all about the drums in the mix today. We're going to talk about the parameters, test it out on some drums, and just see how it sounds. So let's dive in and check it out. The song we're going to be working on today is called Gone Fishing by a project that I'm a part of called The Diner Neon. I think this is a great tune to mess with the drums a little bit. It's a very rock-heavy song. The drums add a lot of hype, and they really propel the overall feel of this tune. Let's take a quick listen to the drums as I have them now without the bus glue compressor. Let's think about how it's sounding, how it feels. We're just going to listen to them soloed, and let's think about what the goal is with this bus glue compressor. So let's check it out. We have a very studio-sounding drum part, very big room sound that I wanted to accentuate. We want these drums to feel big, we want them to feel live, but we still want the intensity. So let's see what we can do with the plugin to accentuate that intensity. Now that we've heard the drums, let's check out the plugin. We have two different columns. The first one is going to be crush. This is a threshold for how much compression we're actually implementing on the track. We have a loudness column, acting as volume. Great little feature, we can link them together. If we hold link and scroll down, keeps them in tandem with one another. If they're at different points and you're liking these settings but you want to pull back a little bit, hold the link and scroll. Nice and easy. In the bottom left, we have two different types of compression we can choose from, standard and then pumping. And then to the right of that, we have a mix knob for the dry-wet signal. I really appreciate the simplicity of this plugin. I think it makes it easy for people to dive in and get a well-dialed-in sound out of their drum bus. Now that we've talked about the plugin, we've heard the drums, let's put it together into practice and see what kind of tones we can get out of this plugin on our drum bus. So, my initial thoughts after pretty much slamming it with the crush fader and then going between standard and pumping. Standard is a little bit of a more even sounding compression. You can really hear it in the way it accentuates the tail of the drums. That room sound is a little bit bigger, a little bit more in your face. And then pumping is a little bit quicker, it's a little bit more sharp and pointy. It's accenting, I think, the overall beef of the kick and the snare, and it's making those sound more in your face. So I could see standard being something great to put on your overall drum mix bus, and then I want to experiment with throwing the same plugin on a parallel drum bus and really just crushing it with the pumping setting and finding a good blend between the two. I think that's a solid game plan for how we should approach these drums and this plugin. So let's dial in a good tone for our drum mix bus. We're going to be using the standard setting. We're going to ease up on that crush fader a little bit. We want it to sound more even, and we want to accentuate that room sound. We're going to get more of the intensity, more of the transient attack of the kick and the snare from the parallel bus that will hit right after this. Beautiful. So now we're going to talk about the parallel bus. On this bus, I'm sending the kick, the snare, and the toms to this. So we don't want to necessarily be crushing the cymbals or the room sound. I want to keep that stuff a little bit more live sounding, a little bit more natural, and then just accentuate the close mics and the transients of these drums using the pumping setting on this plugin. So let's check it out. So the idea with this is to just really crush the drums. They're not supposed to sound that great on their own, but you want that intensity and that really over-dramatic attack so we can later blend in this signal with the actual drum mix bus itself. So it's going to sound a little wonky on its own, but we're going to find a happy medium so that they work in harmony and just add to the intensity of this sound. So we're in a good spot right now. I like the over-dramatic intensity of the parallel bus, liking the smoothness, rounded out sound of the mix bus, really bringing in those room mics and making it sound larger than it actually is. So I'm going to turn down the parallel bus all the way to 0, I'm going to blend it in slowly and find a good balance between the two. I'm really happy with where we got with the mix between the parallel drum bus and the drum mix bus. I think it's a good balance. I think we hit our goal of accentuating that intensity of the transient on the kick and the snare, but then also making the room sound big. We want these kinds of drums to sound larger than life. So let's take a listen to it. I'm going to bypass the plugin on and off, both plugins on both channels, and let's just listen for the things we talked about and see if we hit our goal. I think we did. So the drums sound great on their own, good mix between the parallel bus and the drum bus. But the true test is seeing how they sound in the mix. If they sound great on their own, but they're not meshing with the rest of the band, then there's no point to what we've been doing. So we're going to take a look at this with the bass added, keys added, and guitars added. We're going to take out the vocals for right now, just focus on the band elements of the song. So let's listen, let's bypass and do an A and B, and see how it's sounding with the whole band. Phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of this plugin. I think simplicity is the key, and this plugin really does a great job of dialing into that simplicity. The interface looks incredible, super easy to use faders, minimal settings, but you can still get a lot of different vibes out of this, a lot of different intensities. It's a great little cherry on top to throw on your drum bus to really just glue everything together and accentuate specific sounds of the drums. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I'm really hype about doing these demos. It's been an interesting journey. I love getting to talk about this stuff because it's what I love to do, and I hope my knowledge is translating, and I hope I'm helping you guys get better mixes at home or wherever your situation is. Keep practicing, try out new plugins, try out new things, and we'll see you with the next one.